Devil's Workshop number 13. This is September 17th. My name is Freeman Michaels, and my goal is the complete and total freedom of every human being on the planet. This video was going to be kind of a summary about, even though I've kind of done a live stream about this before and I've hinted to this before, but I really wanted to solidify the difference between preparing for the end of the world and preparing for, at least what I'm doing, preparing for Utopia. And the difference is a lot of times the start is the same. You want to become self-sufficient and independent. You don't want to have to rely on the store, which is going to be closed. You know, everything is going to turn into The Walking Dead and whatnot. And that's a good first step, but it's kind of a dark and depressing lifestyle if you're just going to be preparing for the end of the world. And it's like, what are you going to do? Spend 10 years in your bunker waiting for things to get bad enough where you'd rather be in your bunker. So that to me is not overly appealing. So what I want to do is, even though I think the world is heading in the direction of The Walking Dead, and even if we're not going to get literal zombies, it's like the way people are addicted to their phones nowadays. It's like you might as well just assume that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. And I don't think it's going to be the type of thing that's going to just break out all at once like you have in the movies, but I think things are going to get progressively worse, and I'd like to prepare for that and demonstrate a way that people can live and prepare to live a better lifestyle than they've been living now. And it's unfortunate it took a whole societal crash for us to realize how bad chasing currency and capitalism is, but kind of take that as an opportunity that it is. So you can prepare for some disaster and just assume everything's going to get worse, or you can do something similar to what I'm doing, and that's prepare for Utopia. Energy is kind of the key to everything, and one of the big differences that I'm doing here in my setup, so my goal is to not need capitalism for anything, and that basically means you never need to go to the store. I'm okay with buying things that are difficult to manufacture. Like if I needed a new computer or a solar panel, I'm not going to buy any of or generate any of those things yet. It's just one person and some friends doing the similar things. But anything that you need to go to the store for on a regular basis, it's like start there. And that means growing food, that means storing rice and freezing food, and then being able to handle a power outage and not have all that stuff go bad. One of the big differences that from what I'm doing than other people that have done solar, like the first common one is a grid tied solution where people generally buy 85% of the panels you need. You're not legally allowed to install more because when you're tied to the grid, the energy company doesn't want to pay you money for having too many panels or saving electricity. They definitely want you to keep paying them. Also in the grid-tied system, you generally have gas appliances and whatnot. The goal here isn't actually an energy balance. It's just to offset your cost, and that's a big shift. I don't think that's a good way to go, because if you're just trying to save money and trying to not need money, those two goals can diverge, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Other solar configurations, people buy more panels and they have batteries, but then they buy the number of panels required to get their batteries charged on a cloudy day by like maybe 2 o'clock. There's some formula that they go through. So that's a little more expensive. You have a little more panels and you have more battery packs. And in this situation, you also get rid of all of your gas appliances and get rid of all your electric appliances and switch to gas. And it's still not completely off of capitalism, because if you need some sort of gas fuel to heat and do things, then where are you getting that? It's like, well, if you're creating your own propane, congratulations, but most people don't do that. So then there's what I'm doing, this rainbows and unicorns. For me, you can never have too many solar panels, because to me, energy represents the ability to do something, and the more panels you have, the more stuff you can do. And rather than running things off of a battery, I'm almost viewing the battery as a buffer and running things kind of more off of the sun. So I have more panels then, which like the batteries will be charged by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And then with that extra energy that's just getting thrown away, it's like your batteries are already charged. What are you doing? Then you can do all these other things with it. That's a big difference. I'll get into that more. So it's real quick again. So the grid tied, it's like you get enough panels to offset 85% of your cost, but you're still tied to capitalism. So that's not, it really doesn't help you long term if capitalism is going to fail. Batteries, you move all your appliances to gas, you size the battery bank to match your overnight needs. That's another one of those things. You have range anxiety. That's a big one I'm going to talk about. Because with batteries, you can use about half of them. And then when you get close to that, 12 volt, if you have a 12 volt battery, if you get to that 12 volt mark, you don't want to use any more, because it's like that kind of stresses the battery out and it makes them not last as long. So you have range anxiety when you have a battery system, that you just basically don't want to use stuff overnight. And in the winter, when the nights are long, that becomes even worse. They're more expensive, like I said, range anxiety, and you still have to purchase gas. And then what I'm doing, you never have enough solar panels, and the goal isn't to have a huge, massive battery bank in order to do things at night. The goal is to use energy during the day such that you won't need that large amount of electricity at night. So it's a different setup. So one example of that would be, you could heat a bunch of water during the day with this free excess energy and then use the heated water at night, as opposed to a normal traditional system where you would generally, it's like everything's on demand. It's like when you're tied to the grid, it's like the energy is even cheaper at night, which doesn't make any sense. It's like that's when you're burning coal and using dirty energy, and then that's when the energy company tells you it's cheap. And then during the day, when it should be free and abundant, that's when it's most expensive. So the grid system is totally backwards. One of the big mental shifts that I made in this is like you don't want to look at the system as how long is it going to take for you to make your money back. And I think that's what a lot of people do when they buy solar panels. It's like, okay, well, how long is it going to pay for itself? Well, if your goal is to save money, that's a relevant question. I'm not trying to waste money, but what I'm trying to do is use money now such that I don't need to use money later. And if you buy a bunch of panels now, those panels for the rest of their life are going to give you energy, and you can use that energy to get services you need. As opposed to using the panels to save money on your electric bill and then using that saved money in the future, which you probably won't even notice. It's like a few $1,000s here in the future. It's like, give yourself long enough and you won't notice the what seems like a large amount of money. And so that's a big difference. The goal is to not need money to live. And the way I look at it is like you're kind of buying yourself out of capitalism. So you can lease a car for a while, but then you're going to have to give it back, and you're still tied to earning money and leasing it. But it's like if you buy a car and you could keep it running, then that will last you even if you don't have a job. So big question is like, what do you do with all the extra energy? And it's kind of limitless. I mean, at this point, it's like I don't really have that many capabilities. I don't have that much extra energy, and I can't melt steel and stuff like. It's like I don't have this manufacturing capability, but that's kind of the goal. If large numbers of people and communities have excess energy, then they can do all these things that they normally wouldn't be able to do. So initially, water